Good morning. Charlie, that was really beautiful. Thank you. You know, the topic, choosing where to give, I went, oh dear. And I thought, well, there's a lot about choosing where to give, but what does giving really mean? And it's defined as presenting or offering something without expecting compensation. And I would, if not all, but most of you this past week gave hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items to the rummage sale without expected compensation. So it's true giving. But giving is not one-sided. You may not have expected compensation, but I'll bet you felt good when you did it. Some people did it just out of joy, going through the house going, do I really need this or that? And some people I know are downsizing, and they were so relieved to get rid of some things. And on Friday and Saturday, there were so many happy faces walking out of here with your treasures. And you may not have thought any more of them as treasures, but they were to the people that spent a few dollars here and there on them. And I watched Gloria Newton's face. We were sitting back there being cashiers, and her face just lit up when some lady brought to her to pay for 3 items that she had just given to the rummage sale. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're just gonna love having these, you know, and it was just a real sweet thing. She was downsizing, and so a lot of these things were still treasures to her, and yet the person buying them had this real special connection with her as her face lit up and was congratulating her that she must have picked the right things today to purchase. So it's really a circular action, isn't it? It's really circular, and that's what the universe is all about. It's always, you know, up and down, in and out, all these things. It's a circular process. I know that when I give something, I feel joyful about it, and I don't go around watching who's buying it, but I feel joyful that, you know, maybe this will make somebody happy, this will give someone some joy. But also, as I work with a lot of the poor in the community, I know, and I struggled watching some people going, wait a minute, this dress is $2, I can't do it. You know, and your heart just goes out to them. They're watching every penny, and they're making some really hard choices about, do I get a dress or do I get a plate or what is it? So it's the law of circulation, and it's important because when we give, we open up ourselves to receive, hopefully, because it is done unto us as we believe. That's a law, that's a principle that we believe in here. And if you were here last week and for the Penske guys, I'll tell you, there was so much goodness going around. It was phenomenal. The guys were in shock that we would take up a collection for them because of all the issues that went with them. And on Thursday, when they came to drop off this old box of their Science of Mind magazines, it was their last gift because they had finally located some relatives in Modesto, and they were going down there. And they had their truck with everything in it, and the young guy, Luke, was going to drive, and they were just a family, and they had found family. And they kept saying, there'll never be another place in the world that is as wonderful as this, with people that are as wonderful as this. So I thought, wait a minute. I ran in, I looked up the Modesto Center of Spiritual Living, I typed it up, and I came out and gave them the directions. So I said, that's not true. There are people like this all over the world, and you'll probably find the same type of people here at the Modesto Center. So they left, and we all waved, and it was a real touching moment. So it's circulation. The whole universe is alive with this circulation of energy, and it's really a beautiful thing. Well, I pulled some books off my shelf this week to see what other people are saying, and I pulled off Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And the second spiritual law is the law of giving and receiving. And he said, because the universe is a dynamic exchange of energy where nothing is static. Nothing is static. That means still, not moving. Even our body is in a dramatic exchange of energy with the universe. And if you doubt that, I invite you to do this with me. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it for about 5 more minutes. No, you can't. You have to let go. In and out, breathing, breathing. It's an example of circulation. And, when you think of it in that way, it's kind of awe-inspiring. Chopra suggests that when we're feeling down or feeling out of sorts, we can kickstart this level of circulation by deciding when we come into contact with someone, even if it's a clerk at a store or someone on the sidewalk, we can smile at them. We can be kind. Kindness sometimes is not as plentiful in the world as you'd like to see it. Paying attention to someone, paying attention when they're talking to you, having appreciation for someone. All of these things are giving, and it's a way to kickstart receiving. Because we're open, we've given, we have opened our mind, opened our heart. He said it's a dance, really, and we can activate it. And this dance of in and out, he sees it as the heartthrob of the universe. Now, that just kind of tore me. The pulse of the universe, the heartthrob, in and out, up and down, giving and receiving love. And the teams that we have here that distribute the food to People of Progress, Shoes to Living Hope, and the team that brings food to the homeless next to the Hope Van each month, there's definitely giving and receiving. Those people are so grateful. How could you be grateful for a used pair of tennis shoes? Well, when yours are totally worn out. It's just an incredible thing. How can you not feel a sense of wonder when a person comes up to the Hope Van and they haven't had a meal in a day or two? This is wonderful stuff. And choosing to give this way is very, very special, because a lot of times we're choosing, do I want to give $5, $10? Do I want to give this person on the street any money? We're choosing where to give. But when we give in these ways, our hearts just burst open. It's also called our time, our talent, and our treasure. Mary Mannon Morrissey is a famous prosperity teacher, and if you've ever taken her Prosperity Plus class, you know she believes in tithing. She believes because she's proven it to herself time and time and time again. She wrote a book, Building Your Field of Dreams, and she wrote about a time where she had been giving self-esteem classes for school districts, and she and her husband decided to take this on the road, and they were going to take this big road trip. And so they took their four kids out of school for a year, and they were going to homeschool them. And so they put the 4 kids, 2 cats, $300, and bought a trailer and hooked it up to their car, and they were in Oregon, and they thought they'd come to California first, and then they'd go around the south and end up in Florida. Well, it was only 2 days on the road when the brakes on the trailer locked. And you know what happens then. The trailer comes to a jolt. Everything in it flies all around. It's a total disaster. And they had to get it fixed. So out of the $300 that they had, it cost $172 to fix the brakes on the trailer. So Mary's thinking, wait a minute. I'm putting my whole life online for Spirit. Why is this happening? So from that point on, they did 10 workshops at various centers until they reached Florida. And every day, they only seemed to have enough money left to put gas in the car and food for the kids. So by the time they reached Florida, they only had $3. Not much. It was years ago, but still, $3 is $3. She remembers walking along the beach there in Florida, cussing at God, hurling thoughts at God, being angry at God. Wait a minute, we put our life on the line for this. And she asked for a sign that they should continue. And she saw a penny in the sand. And she looked at it and she said, well, God, that's a start. Now, I don't know if I'd say that about a penny, but she did. She was glad to see it. So she went to the store with $3.01. And she bought 2 packages of peas. Apparently in Florida, they have yellow peas and green peas. Something in her head said, well, the kids will think it's 2 different things. We'll have green peas tonight and yellow peas tomorrow night for dinner. And she was standing in the checkout line, and you know how you get these hits from your soul, your intuitive hit. You get this voice. It comes out of nowhere, and it says, Mary, You've been tithing your time and your talent, but not your treasure, not your dollars. And it was so loud, she heard it. So when they got back to the campground where they were staying, she went to the chapel and put 30 cents in the donation box. The next day, her husband got paid $80 for washing windows for someone. So she's thinking, this is pretty good. She realized they had been holding back their treasure. They had been holding back fear of not enough. And what happened? There was always just barely enough. So she teaches, if you hoard your best seeds instead of planting them in the earth, your crop will always be stunted because you're hoarding your best seeds. She realized the importance of constant circulation in every area of your life. Because if we don't circulate our time, talent, and treasure, we have no room for Spirit to give us what we've been wishing for, what we've been wanting, what we would like to have happen in our life. So she's proven it to herself so often. She's got this very, very powerful program, Prosperity Plus. And you know, when a center like this, a church or a center, when you talk about treasure, it gets people a little uncomfortable. But you know, you look around at our buildings, our grounds, our programs, all of this wouldn't be here without your treasure. It wouldn't. It was the idea of Dr. James and Andrea Golden to build this facility for spiritual development, to help people walk the spiritual path. And, you know, I don't know how I would be today if this center wasn't in my life all these years. I really don't know. I don't really want to know, is the fact. But it's a key part of my life, and that's why I support it as much as I do. And many of you think the same way because we are successful. We're meeting our obligations, and at times we're able to grow. So the other issue with time, talent, and treasure is, but there's so many other wonderful nonprofits out there in the world. And I have to decide, what am I going to give here versus what am I going to give there? Because I love making monthly donations to Doctors Without Borders. What a wonderful organization, healing people around the world. And another great organization is K-Love Radio. It's Christian radio, but it's so positive, so upbeat. And it takes me a half hour to come and go from home to here, and I always listen to K-Love. And by the time I get here, I just always feel so good. And then I support the Human Kindness Foundation. Now, this is a foundation that brings the Prison Ashram Project to prisoners and other spiritual resources to prisoners around the country. And I am very much, they have a very special place in my heart for prisoners who want to walk the spiritual path. I have corresponded with Michael now for 9 years, and he's in for life. And it's just a wonderful evolution of his spiritual path. And at times there have been 4 to 5 other gentlemen that I've corresponded with. And it's wonderful to see their progress, to see them opening up to God being all around them. So how much is my treasure that I'm going to give here, and how often? And I've decided it's a lot because it's my spiritual home, it's my rock, it's my foundation, it's my special connection with God. And when it comes to my time, you know, my husband comes first. He's the rock also in my life. So between Paul and the center, and you know, I was here the last couple of days, and he's calling, goes, how's your talk going? Oh yeah, I have to talk on Sunday. And so he's my good reminder, my good pal. Make sure you're balancing your life. Make sure your talk is going to be okay or good on Sunday. So it was very sweet. So I pulled off another book off my shelf by Dr. Catherine Ponder. And she's a very famous prosperity teacher. And she wrote this: theologians often tend to stress what tithing does for the church instead of what it does for the person. Traditionally, the word tithing means you give 10% of your financial good, and it's been associated with giving to a place of worship. Yet, upon closer examination, we can only conclude that the giver and the receiver benefit. Because it's all God. In the end, it's all God. So in her other book, Opening Your Mind to Prosperity, She wanted to clarify this belief in tithing to our spiritual home. And she wrote, to receive spiritual help from one place, but to give it to another is like going to one doctor and paying a different doctor. I thought that was interesting. Or like eating in one restaurant and paying for your food in another restaurant. So I looked up Joel Goldsmith because I like to know what all these great people say. And his book, Consciousness Transformed, he said, there's been a mistake on the subject of tithing. And I'm like, whoa, tell me the mistake. Although it was discovered that those who do tithe don't know lack or limitation, it was believed that you could just teach this to people and they would be able to do this, and that's not true. Tithing is something that can only take place when a person realizes the great gifts that God has given them in their life, that they have received these gifts, that they have gratitude for these gifts, that they are thankful for these gifts, and for the realization of God's grace in their life. Then they are open to receive. He said tithing is an active ingredient of gratitude, but the recipient also benefits as well. But it's not just something you can say, like, give me 10% and your life's going to be fine. No, it requires a whole evolution of your consciousness to make that happen. I don't know if you know, in our home office in Golden, Colorado, there's a department called the Science of Mind Archives, and they've collected everything Ernest Holmes ever wrote. And the head of the archives, her name is Dr. Marilyn Leo. She knew Holmes, and she just loved Holmes, and everything he ever said or wrote, she's got and she knows. And she she noted that Holmes explained the concept of tithing very succinctly. Here you go. Everything in nature moves in circles. What goes out must come back. Unless the seed is sown, it can't bear fruit. So there's a planting time in order to have a harvest. Those who refuse to give limit the possibility of greater good returning to them. The seed that is planted must correspond to that which we desire in our experience. Did you know there's not a percentage in what he wrote? He just talked about giving and receiving. So what's the greatest impediment to people giving at a level where they feel so open to receive through the grace of God? And it's fear. Whether it's 10%, 2%, 5%, 1%, it's fear. And when we live in a consciousness of fear, we're never going to have enough. That underlying fear just builds and builds and builds. And then, as Mary Mann Morrissey experienced, you go for months and you started with money, but you end up with $3 and you go, God, what's up with this? And so several times over the past 5 years, we've offered her prosperity program here. And in taking that prosperity program, she requires that you give 10% to the center. And after the initial class and people go, I don't know if I really want to do this. But once they do, they were shocked at how much unexpected income came into their life. Thousands and thousands of dollars. It's just an amazing thing. So next month, we're going to be kicking off our intentional giving program for 2018. We're giving you the opportunity to plan next year what is right for you. What is right for you in supporting this center? We create a budget from that, and we say, okay, here's what we thought we could spend next year. Now either we have the money or we don't, and we balance the budget. You know, over the last 8 years, I was looking at it the other day, over the last 8 years, it's been pretty even. It's been pretty even. And you may not know it, but it takes $20,000 a month to run this center. Now, that may sound like a lot. It is a lot. But there's the mortgage, the utilities, the wages, operations, facilities, liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, and the list for any business, it just goes on and on. But we're grateful to have a really great financial management team that keeps a real close eye on income and expenses. And they don't hesitate to make cutbacks when it's necessary. And a couple times this year, we had to make some cutbacks, and now we're looking better and like, oh, well, could we reinstate some of that? But our assumption is always, you're doing the best we can, I'm doing the best we can, we're all doing the best we can. And so we work with that. But we've been blessed with people who are so committed to their spiritual path, so committed to the success of this center and everything we do. It's taken many ideas and the creativity of many, many people over the years to make this business run with integrity, love, and gratitude. It's a church, but it's a business, and we run both with integrity, love, and gratitude. So every so often, Paul and I go on vacation for a week or two. And, when you go away, if you're not doing your spiritual practices, it's easy to forget the big T truth about you. That you've been created through the love of God. That your life is special. That the importance of your life is to bring more love into this world. And sometimes when we're away, we kind of forget that. And so when we come back, it's like I'm back with my like-minded friends. Because out of the center, I have friends, but I don't have that many because they're all here because we cherish these people. We cherish the people here. And we get a sense of inner peace when we come back. And it's like, yes, I came home again and again and again. It's a beautiful thing. Every human being is an individual soul finding their way back home. And it's just like the story of the prodigal son, which is why we joyously embrace anyone who walks through this door. They may not stay, but we embrace them anyway. We welcome them. So we're here to express life both as a giver in our many programs and as a receiver in our life. This circulation, this divine flow of energy. So this week I encourage you to meditate on this point. My life is God's gift to me. What I do with it is my gift to God. So let's pray about that. In this moment, just feeling the circulation of love in this room, it's very tangible. The circulation of gratitude in this room is very, very tangible. However much was made on the rummage sale this week is out of giving and receiving, and it supports the center. It supports you. It supports all people who enter. It supports us in our spiritual growth, in our experiences in relationships, in our experience with love and the community. So in gratitude, I do ask myself this week, what I do with my life is my gift to God, and I give it joyously from the heart. I know this is true for all of us here, and I'm so grateful that we recognize it, we remember it, and we give ourselves a pat on the back. Good job. Good job. And all is well. And so it is. Thank you.